Looking at our world from a theological perspective. This is the Theology Central Podcast, making theology central.
Good Tuesday afternoon to everyone. It is August the 24th, 2021. It is currently 4:39 p.m. Central Time, and I'm coming to you live from the sanctuary of Victory Baptist Church, located right here in Ovalo, Texas. And we have a lot to talk about today. So my goal is to be here for the next few hours doing live broadcasts. That is the goal. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it does not. But we have a lot to talk about, a lot of very important issues to discuss. And we're going to start with one which requires your help. So I am calling all of those who are my regular listeners of the Theology Central podcast, who in many cases, you are my research staff. I need your help in researching something, because we need to find out the truth about a very important issue. All right? So let's begin here. Let's start with Bethel-Church. Now, if you're not familiar with Bethel-Church is located in Redding, California. Bethel-Church is an American, non-denominational, neo-charismatic megachurch is how it is described. Bethel-Church, again, is an American, non-denominational, neo-charismatic megachurch in Redding, California, with over 11,000 members. That is how it is described, with over 11,000 members. That's the basic description. You've probably heard of Bethel-Church in some way, shape, or form. If you've been listening to me for any length of time, we've discussed them over and over and over again. There's a lot of things you could say they're famous for. One of the things one of the things that maybe they don't want to be famous for is where in the church, a young girl, one of the people in the church, their young daughter passed away. And instead of going on with the funeral and allowing, the grieving process to take place, they decided, nope, let's not have the funeral. We're going to have these services because God's going to raise the little girl from the dead. And of course, it did not happen. So don't even get me started on those kinds of things, because I get very upset. But yes, the church is a theological mess. And of course, you know how I feel about charismatic theology. So there's a lot of issues I have with Bethel-Church. But even though I may have lots of issues with Bethel-Church, I always like to ensure that when claims are being made, when accusations are being made about any group, that I want to do everything in my power to figure out the truth before I just turn on the microphone and offer up the same accusations and just run with it. No, we want to find truth. Truth is what matters, right? Not scoring one for your team and one against their team. It's about yes, do I believe Bethel-Church is heretical? Absolutely. Do I believe their doctrine is false? Absolutely. Do I believe anyone should go to Bethel-Church? Absolutely not. Do I believe people who currently attend that church should leave that church as fast as I can? Yes, I do. But even though I believe all of that, if someone makes some accusation about something the church believes or something the church teaches, I'm not just going to say, okay, let's just add that to the list. No, I'm going to stop and go, wait a minute. I'm going to give Bethel-Church the benefit of the doubt temporarily. We'll do a thorough investigation and find out what they actually teach and what they actually believe. If it is proven that what is being accused is true, then yes, it will be another thing listed that should convince people that they need to flee Bethel-Church. Don't look back. Don't listen to their teaching, because it is a mess. If it's not true, then nobody needs to be making the accusation. So the goal here today is to tell you what the accusation is, let you hear the audio clip for yourself. I'm going to explain the context here, and then hopefully some of you are like Bethel-Church experts. So when you hear these individuals talking, you may know exactly who they are. You may have some background. I have reached out to the people who have posted the accusation, and so far I haven't heard anything back. But we definitely need to try to figure out the truth. Right? So that's just, before we even get any further, that's just a very important principle. Right? As a Christian, that's the way you should operate. It doesn't matter, if someone makes an accusation against a politician that you just absolutely despise and you think is evil and you think they're going to destroy the country. You don't just immediately repeat that accusation. You don't immediately believe the accusation. No, you say, let me find the truth. Let me find the truth. You give people the benefit of the doubt, and you don't just run around gossiping and slandering. You stop and go, okay, now what are people saying? Let's look into it. Let's investigate. Now, this is an important accusation because there's an accusation that Bethel Church is now embracing a theological position that is, just blatantly heretical. It's just blatantly false. And in fact, it really destroys the doctrine of God. That's how serious it is. So we're going to have to find out the truth. So Bethel Church, Redding, California, 11,000 members. Who even knows the numbers of people who listens to their sermons and downloads and streams? And their reach is far greater than anything I can even hope to ever accomplish or imagine. So because they are so big and so influential, in fact, at one point, Bethel Church in Redding, California was listed as one of the most influential churches in the United States of America. I can't remember where it fell on the list. It was I think it was in the top 20 of most influential churches in America. So when a church has that much influence and there's an accusation about them holding now to a theological position that's absolutely messed up on top of all the other theological positions that we definitely know they hold to, well, then obviously it's very important and we need to stop what we're doing and look into it. All right. So here's how it all started. On what day was this? On August the 23rd, yesterday, Reformation Charlotte, who has over 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, so they have a far greater outreach on YouTube than I do, over 4,000 subscribers, they posted a video and this is the title of the video, Ordained Bethel Pastor Says God Doesn't Know the Exact Future. Ordained Bethel Pastor Says God Doesn't Know the Exact Future. Now, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. Is that Bethel Church in Redding, California? From the comments, at least everyone who's watched the video assumes it is from Bethel Church in Redding, California. So we've got to have to determine if it is Bethel Church in Redding, California. I don't think they would be posting, maybe they could be posting this about just, some other Bethel church. Maybe they could be, but I'm going to give you some names for us to do our research. But again, the title of the video is Ordained Bethel Pastor Says God Doesn't Know the Exact Future. So supposedly it's an ordained pastor with Bethel who now is saying that God doesn't know the exact future. Now that to me stopped what I was doing. When I saw it, I was like, wait. Okay, what's going on? And I immediately started watching the video. Now there's a couple of problems. The video offers no context. They just kind of take the clip where this is supposedly said. They don't seem to offer the actual original source from which this is from. And they're doing a lot of play it, stop it, and they're doing a little manipulating it, which I'm not a fan of. Right? If I'm going to turn on the microphone and go, hey, Bethel Church is now teaching this, then I'm going to take the entire clip, not just the clip, I'm going to take the entire video, the entire audio, the entire, whatever file it is, and we're going to walk all the way through it step by step so that everyone can hear the context, what came before, what came after. I'm going to identify the people. I'm going to identify where the original source is. Those are things you have to do, and they don't really do a good job. Here's the information they do provide. As of right now, the video has been viewed 2,746 times. It has 47 thumbs up, 5 thumbs down. I don't know why you would have 5 thumbs down. I don't. But again, it's YouTube. I don't understand YouTube. We don't place videos on there, but our audio podcast gets uploaded to YouTube. And that's where I get the craziest comments and the craziest contacts. When our emails are from people who view us, I should say, listen to us on YouTube. But here's the information. So again, title, Ordained Bethel Pastor Says God Doesn't Know the Exact Future. Video was posted on August the 23rd, 2021. So yesterday, I don't have the exact time. It's by Reformation Charlotte. Again, they have over 4,000 subscribers, and here's what they have in their description. Ordained Bethel pastor Jenna Winston. Now, that's something we could probably do a little research and find out is she an ordained pastor at Bethel Church. Now, please note, it's a female, so there's already have one major theological problem. But I mean, that's just skimming the surface with Bethel Church, all right? So ordained Bethel pastor Jenna Winston, that's Winston, Jenna, Jenna, says God doesn't know the exact future. Subscribes to open-theism heresy. All right, that's a big claim. So right there in their description, they're claiming that an ordained pastor from Bethel Church and some kind of, it looks like that they took video, so in some kind of video presentation, I'm assuming it's connected with the church. Again, we have no context. Seemingly says, according to this description, that God doesn't know the future, and then they say subscribes to open theism. Now, I do not know if the person in the video goes on to say, hey, I believe in open theism. Is that just the assumption? Is it possible that the ordained pastor from Bethel Church, Pastor Jenna Winston, I'm just going to throw this out as a possibility. Is it possible that she's so theologically ignorant that she doesn't even know what open theism is and doesn't even understand the theological ramifications of the statement she is heard to make in the video that I'm going to play for you in just a second, the audio of? Is it possible that it's just a matter of ignorance? Now, there should be no excuse for that, but is it possible? Now, again, we've got to first determine, is she a pastor with Bethel Church in Redding, California? Number two, on this video clip where she was speaking, was it something put out by the church, connected to the church? Right. Number three, does she even know what open theism is? And do we have any indication at all that Bethel Church holds to open theism? These are some questions we should have. Now, for those who may not know, because we have some people who listen are very theologically advanced, and we always have new people listening, let me just give you a basic kind of summary of open theism. Open theism is also called by a couple of names. Free will theism, sometimes it's known as free will theism. Now, those who hold to free will definitely don't like that. And let's make it very clear, not everyone who believes in what we call libertarian free will, not all people who believe in libertarian free will would say that they believe in open theism, and many would just flat out reject it. So let's be very fair there. So I don't like calling it free will theism because that kind of throws anyone who holds to free will as believing this, and that's just not accurate. So open theism is also called free will theism. It's also referred to as openness theology. And here's some of the basic elements of this teaching. It is a belief that God does not exercise meticulous control of the universe, but leaves it open for humans to make significant choices, in parentheses, free will, that impacts their relationship with God and others. So in this openness theology, God does not exercise meticulous control of the universe. He leaves it, in a sense, open for a lot of things to happen, and therefore you can't say, well, God ordained it, preordained it, it's a part of God's providence. No, God just left that open for people to do, whatever actions you want to add into, what He's left open for people to do. It says what goes along with this idea is that God has not predetermined the future. Now, if you've been listening to our sermons under the VBC podcast from Romans chapter 8, we've been dealing with 6 very important words: the word foreknowledge, the word predestination, and we started dealing with the word calling. So you may want to go listen to that, because I'm giving the absolute opposite to open theism in my teaching. I'm giving a completely different. I reject open theism outright. But what goes along with this idea, so let's go with this again. Open theism is the belief that God does not exercise meticulous control of the universe, but leaves it open for humans to make significant choices, free will that impacts their relationship with God and others. Now, what goes along with this is that God has not predetermined the future. Open theists further believe that this would imply that God does not know the future in an exhaustive way, in a complete way. So God doesn't know everything about the future. He doesn't have complete knowledge of the future. Proponents affirm that God is omniscient, but deny that this means that God knows everything that will happen. And then and I'm reading from Theopedia, they have a quote here: our rejection of divine timelessness and our affirmation of dynamic omniscience are the most controversial elements in our proposal, and the view of foreknowledge receives the most attention. However, the watershed issue in the debate is not whether God has exhaustive, definitive, or definite knowledge, but whether God is ever affected by and responds to what we do. This is the same watershed that divides Calvinism from Arminianism. All right, now we could go further. We could go further into this. I'm getting calls on my iPad, so I have to turn that off. Okay, we could go further into this, but the basic idea is, I want you to realize this, is according to open theism, is that God has left things open, and he doesn't have meticulous control over everything. He's not predetermined everything that will happen, and he does not have exhaustive knowledge over everything that will happen. He does not have exhaustive knowledge, and I do apologize for getting a phone call on my iPad in the middle of a live broadcast. Yeah, sometimes I forget to turn that off. So that's the basic idea of open theist. Now, let me make it very clear. If you in any way, shape, or form have a theology that states that God does not know everything, that he is not completely omniscient. Now, they'll say, yes, we believe that God is omniscient. And see, that's the dirty little game that gets played here. You look at someone's doctrinal statement and they say, well, see, they say they believe in God's omniscience. You have to go, what do they mean by that? See, people can use the same theological language, but mean completely different things. So you always have to ask, okay, you say you believe this, now I need you to explain it. Let me give you an example. When I first moved here to Texas, I've told this story many times. We first moved here, we kept looking for a church, and we could not believe how bad the churches were right here in West Texas, quote unquote, part of the Bible Belt kind of situation. Churches everywhere, but it was so bad theologically. So we go to a church and we're like, okay, this is not great. It's not wonderful, but they have a Sunday school, Sunday morning, Sunday night, they have Wednesday. At least they have some things going on here so we can get at least some teaching. The teaching's not horrible. So, we'll make the best of this. So the pastor comes over to my house. He's going to meet with us, and I've got 927,000 theological questions. And so I start asking theological questions. Okay, so I start, is God immutable? Is God all-knowing? Is God omniscient? I even use the theological terms. Is God omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent? Just all of the ones. And I'm asking theological questions. And he's saying yes, giving me affirmation to all of them. And I'm like, okay, well, this sounds good. Now, the red flag should have been, as we're going through these, right? As we're going through all of these things, about the time I'm not quite done with all of my theological questions, and he gets closer to the end, he says, I wish you would ask me something more practical. And I wanted to say, what could be more practical about your church than your theology? That should have been the red flag to just run, get out of, I was at my house. It should have been a red flag for me to say, sir, it's probably time for you to go and we'll figure something out. But we were desperate to find a church. So we went on, asked some more questions, and it seemed okay. So that Sunday, so that was like on a Friday night, that Sunday morning, we were supposed to walk forward at the, during the quote unquote invitation, and we would present ourselves to become members of the church, right? Wonderful. We're sitting there listening to the sermon being preached, and he basically straight up, just right up front, in your face, teaches open theism. After he sat in my house saying that he believed that God was immutable and that God was omniscient. And then he straight up teaches open theism. Well, the minute I'm like, that's it, we got up, we left, and we never came back. We never went back to the church under any circumstance. And I didn't sit there and get in a phone call and yell and scream and go, why were you dishonest with me? But sadly, that's just the theological game that people play. Give you the right words. And that's how come sometimes you'll be like reviewing a sermon and you'll be like, whoa, this teaches this. And then someone will email me going, well, their doctrinal statement says, well, I don't care what their doctrinal statement says. If their preaching goes against their doctrinal statement, maybe the people of the church should hold the pastor responsible for violating the doctrinal statement. Don't get mad at me. I'm just reviewing the sermon. So I don't know what Bethel Church's doctrinal, I mean, we've looked at it before, parts of it. I'm almost positive that it sounds somewhat orthodox, at least in some areas. So I don't think, you're going to look at their doctrinal statement. It's like, we hold to open theism. But if they have an ordained pastor out there promoting the idea, that is problem. So open theism, let me state it again, is the idea that God has left things open so that human beings can make significant choices, free will, right? And what comes along with this is the idea that God does not predetermine the future and that God does not know the future in an exhaustive way or in a complete way. That's the basic, simple explanation of open theism. And we could get into far more here. All right. And again, I apologize for the interruption that we had. Now, are you ready? Are you ready? All right. Thinking caps on. All right. Here we go. Now we're going to listen to this video. Now, the first 39 seconds of the video is them just placing on the screen, I believe it's the words of Psalm 139. I believe it's verses 1 through 6. I believe it's Psalm 139. And there's no sound. There's nothing. So I have skipped to the 40-second mark. Now, as soon as I hit play here, it's going to go into a video where it shows two individuals. It's a male and a female. The female, I'm assuming, is supposed to be the ordained pastor, Jenna, what's her name? Wilson. Let me make sure I have her name here. Jenna Winston, I should say. And I don't know, is this a podcast? Is this an interview? Is this something their church does? I have no idea what I'm watching because there's no explanation. And it's just going to jump right in. And really quick, she's going to make these claims. Now, what they're going to do, Reformation Charlotte, they're going to stop it and back it up and stop it and slow it down to really emphasize it. I guess that's cool that they're doing that. The only problem is, wait, I need to hear it. Can we just have a good starting place and put it all together? But they don't do that. So we're just gonna listen to this and see what they have to say. And you can draw your own conclusions. And what I need is your research to find out what in the world's going on. Is Bethel Church completely embraced open theism?
Just turn around and Jesus is there. You can't see them anymore, right? So you can't see him anymore.
Yeah.
And so true deliverance is about, there are so many things that happen in our lives all the time that God never planned.
Okay, I want you to, okay, so many things happen in our lives that God didn't plan. All right, that's a classic open theism. See, God left it open. God didn't predetermine it. See, things happen. God didn't plan it. So there's God up there, and he's like, oh, well, whoa, I didn't plan that. Wait, I didn't plan that. Wait, I didn't plan that. And a lot of pastors preach the fall of Adam and Eve almost like, well, I didn't plan that. Okay, plan B. We need a plan. Hey, attention in heaven. Did you see what just happened? That came out of nowhere. Don't know what just occurred, but we need a plan B. Anyone got an idea? Anyone what do we do now? Okay, but that, again, not only did God not plan it, then what almost automatically comes with it is God didn't know about it. And so God is not determining everything, predetermining anything, doesn't know everything. I mean, basically, before you're done, God is not much of a God, is really where you end up here. But that's a first big statement. All right, let's continue.
God doesn't make bad things happen, but he will take the assaults from the enemy he doesn't want us happy and full of life and walking in our identity. And we're all gifted. We're all called. We all have epic, whatever. And so he doesn't know our exact future, but he doesn't know our exact future, but
He doesn't know our exact future, but
Okay, now at that point, they start showing things on the screen. In fact, what I would just challenge you to do, go to YouTube, type in Reformation Charlotte, and look for the video, and you can watch it all for yourself. So see what they did? I mean, that's such a small clip. I'm looking at my comment under the video, and I say, does anyone have a link to the original video? I would like to take the original and do a breakdown of it for our podcast, and I still have no response from anyone. I'm like, can someone just give me the original? I just want the original so that we can go, what in the world, what led to this? Where does it go? Where does it lead up? And I'm going to do something really quick. I'm going to turn the volume down here really quick. I'm going to just make sure. Give me 1 second, because right now YouTube is playing an ad. I've got the volume turned down. I'm going to skip the ad. Skip. All right, there we go. Skips the ad. All right, they're showing the scripture. All right. And then, see here. Okay, they're doing the part we just heard. You can hear it.
know our exact future, but he doesn't know our exact future, but
he doesn't know our exact future, but
And then on the screen it says, this is heresy known as open-theism. It is.
he doesn't know
here we
our
go.
exact future, but he does know our callings. He does know our giftings, and he's just going to hit you opposite all the time, And we get stuck in blame and this and that and believing all of it to where we don't even know our identity, right? So what does it look like instead of dissecting everything wrong with you?
There you go. And it says Jenna Winston is an ordained pastor at Bethel-church, Redding, California. So they're making the claim she is an ordained pastor there. And then that's the end. But see, we have no context. I don't know where that video is from. I don't know anything. So if we can put it this way, if we can identify that she's an ordained pastor there, if we can confirm that, then there's no question what she just taught was blatant open theism. God doesn't know. Things happen that he doesn't plan. I mean, that's classic open theism. Now, if anyone is listening to me and you're connected with Bethel Church or attend Bethel Church, that's the kind of stuff that should scare you to death. I mean, that's just blatant. Like your God doesn't know everything. Your God doesn't plan everything that happens. So your God is not even in control. And I say your God because it's a God that's not the God of the Bible, who knows everything, who works all things according to his good pleasure and will. I mean, we've been talking about this again in Romans chapter 8, talking about foreknowledge and predestination. God foreknows, predetermines. I mean, if your God doesn't know everything, doesn't plan everything, is not in control of everything, then I really don't know what your God, you have a false God that really is pretty weak and insignificant. So that is a major problem. That if all of the charismatic stuff doesn't scare you to death, if all of the charismatic stuff doesn't bother you, please let open theism bother you. Please, I beg of you, because if you end up with a false God, there is no salvation in a belief in a false God. Salvation would require faith in the true God, not a false God, because your faith is only as good as the object in which you are placing it. And if you place your faith in a false God, it's of no value because that false God doesn't exist. Therefore, they cannot save you. Now, again, it just may be the ordained pastor of Bethel is just theologically ignorant, doesn't even understand the theological implications of what she's saying. She just doesn't get it. I don't know what her theological training is, but Bethel Church has a responsibility to say, no, she was wrong. We are correcting it. We do not believe in open theism. But the thing is, every time Bethel Church offers any kind of correction, usually their correction is such a theological mess that they need a correction to their correction. In fact, they need a complete theological overhaul is what they need. But this is the issue. I don't know what's true. I know that video appears to show this woman, who they're identifying as an ordained pastor of Bethel, clearly saying things that are in line with classic open theism. There's no question about that. Now, is that a woman who is an ordained pastor from Bethel? We need to confirm that. We need to figure out where's that original, where did that come from? Where's the original source of that? Then we need to determine that. Now, once we can do that, then we need to review the original. Once we conclude that and especially is the original video associated with, did Bethel put it out? If Bethel put it out, then it's on Bethel-church. It's on Bethel-church. Now, Bethel-church is not going to respond to me because they don't care. I'm a nobody. But maybe somebody bigger in the world of Christianity will say, hey, but you know what? When it gets down to things like open-theism, when it gets down like to the doctrine of the Trinity, nobody cares. We demonstrated we demonstrated clearly that Ed Litton, the new president of the Southern Baptist Convention, had a completely heretical doctrinal statement about the doctrine of the Trinity, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. The plagiarism, for most part, nobody cared about the plagiarism accusations about Ed Litton, and in fact, they cared even less about the Trinitarian heresy, where his church had, on their website, their confession of faith, said that the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are three parts of one God, which is absolutely complete heretical. Nobody cares. I think sadly we live in a time where most professing Christians could care less if their church is open theism. It doesn't matter. A non-Trinitarian, modalist, it doesn't matter. Denies the hypostatic union, doesn't matter, because they don't really care about those theological issues. People just don't care about theology for the most part. And if you're a church that emphasizes theology, you'll catch on really quick that people are not interested, because they'll go to a church where they can get a nice little 3-point sermon with a nice little, concluding emotional illustration for a conclusion, and then get to that potluck by 12:05. And that's where they can have friends and it can be fun and activities. They don't care about actually a place where there's some serious theological considerations. But that's a whole different story. So there you have it. I don't really know what's going on. In fact, we'll do this. Give me a second here. Maybe, let me see here. Do I have, let's see here, Bethel-church. I think this is there. I think this is Bethel-church, Redding, California. Let me go here. Yeah, this is Bethel-church, Redding, California. All right, I'm going to look here, looking for their menu. They don't, see, leadership. They have leadership. Okay, here's their leadership team. All right, let's go through these names. Bill and Benny Johnson, Chris and Kathy Volatin, Dan Farrelly, Charlie Harper, Brian and Jen Johnson, Paul Manwaring, Danny Silk, Ben and Heather Armstrong, Haley Braun, Ryan Collins, Tom and Leslie Crandall, Chris and Lana Cruz, Steve and Ruth Moore, David Stein, Joe Taylor, Gabe Venezuela, I guess is how you would say his name, Valenzuela, and Jason and Lauren Volatin. So I do not see that name listed here. Hang on, that's their senior leadership. All right, wait a minute, that's their senior leadership. Then they have elders. Okay, she's not listed as an elder. Church leadership team. Let's see here. I'm not seeing her. She's not listed as church leadership team. School leadership. She's not listed there either. So now, see, I'm getting very concerned if the video names her and I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. And so give me one. I'm going to go back to the video. I'm going to go back here to this. Where did they get the idea that she is, okay, Reformation Charlotte. I'm going back to the page. There it is. One day ago. And they have. Okay, let me turn this down. Okay, they're showing a commercial. See, her name again is Jenna Winston. I don't see her listed. All right. Okay, interesting. All right. someone who's listening, I won't give her name that's listening because I'm always careful. It says if we are talking about Jenna Winston, it looks like she is identified as a seer prophet. What in the world is seer prophet? And it says, interesting. To the person who just sent that, can you tell me where you got that info? Where did you find her listed as a seer prophet? Where did you find her listed as that? I'm looking at the church website, and I'm not finding her mentioned anywhere. I say this is the problem with Reformation Charlotte. If you're going to post a video like this, you got to give people accurate information. But this is the reason why. So I'm going to wait and see if they tell me where they got their information that she's listed or identified, I should say, not listed, identified as a seer prophet. Where did you find that identification? And if they tell me, then we'll look. This is interesting. I'm going to give it a second and see. It's there for those listening. There is a delay. There's about a minute delay, sometimes 2 minutes delay for when people are listening. They're behind me, so when I ask for something, I have to wait for that response. So because I'm curious, where did that identity come from? In fact, I'm just going to do a quick search here. Yeah, we're doing research live on the air, but that's okay. That's one of the reasons I love doing the podcast is because I want it to be this way. Don't want it to be all. I like it to be like a real live conversation. All right, here's Jenna Winston. Oh wait, here we go. Oh, I think I found the original video. Yeah. Okay, here we go. It's called the original video. Okay, this comes from BOLZ Ministries. BOLZ Ministries. All right. I do not know who Sean BOLZ is. Sean Bowles. I guess he's the host of this. Okay, so if you Google Jenna Winston's name, you'll see lots of options listing her as a seer prophet. Okay, but we found the original video, so here we go. All right, man, I'm just reading I'm sorry. I'm reading some of the comments under this video, and I'm like, what in the name of bubblegum is going on here? Okay, like there's these branches of Christianity that when I look at it, it's like I'm looking at aliens had just landed in Roswell. I'm like, what is that? That's not the Christianity I'm familiar with, okay? But, so here, the original video, for anyone's interested, the original video, it looks like was live streamed on August the 23rd. So I guess Reformation Charlotte was watching the live stream. I don't know. They got onto it relatively quick. It currently has 1,398 views. And I believe this has to be because they were talking about deliverance in the clip that we heard. The video is called Foundations of Deliverance with Sean Bowles and Jenna Winston, ! So the fact that Jenna's on here, I guess, is a big deal. Again, I don't even know who she is. They don't have her. They don't tell me who she is. They just say, join Sean and Jenna as they explore deliverance in the kingdom. All right. Yes. Okay. And then it says, this is what it says. I'm just reading some of the comments. Thank you, Jenna and Sean. I'm looking forward to learning more from Jenna. Holy Spirit has been showing me much the same thing, that I don't need to waste my time fighting the enemy. I can just fix my eyes on Jesus and allow him to bring me more and more freedom to my life. Again, I don't really know exactly what that means, but okay. And it says, oh, now wait. Now someone under the comment section identifies her as being from Bethel. It says another Bethel crazy person. So Jesus got in bed with her and played with her hair. I don't know what in the world. Wait, in the video, did she say Jesus got in bed with her? Okay, there may be more craziness in the video than what we heard. So we're going to have to take this video apart. Okay, there's a number of people, or not a number of people. Someone else says, just be perfectly clear, God does know our future. The theological term for what this lady said is open-theism. And then there's 7 replies to this. Okay, now this person says that is not what she is teaching. You're just looking for devils and heresies everywhere. She never said God doesn't know our exact future. But that's what her exact words was, wasn't it? Okay. It says she said that the devil doesn't know our exact future. Maybe if you weren't already predisposed to find heresy everywhere, you wouldn't mishear and misunderstand and falsely accuse brothers and sisters in Christ like that. Okay, wait. So then someone. So now, the discussion gets crazy. So they're claiming that's not what she said. Let's go back and listen to what we have here. Let's go back. I'm going to take this back to. Did we miss some context? I'm going to play the video of the audio that Reformation Charlotte had again. All right. So now I'm really curious of what in the world's going on. Here we go.
If you just turn around and Jesus is there, you can't see them anymore. Right? So you can't see him anymore.
Yeah.
And so true deliverance is about, there are so many things that happen in our lives all the time that God never planned. God doesn't make bad things happen, but he will take the assaults from the enemy he doesn't want us happy and full of life and walking in our identity. And we're all gifted. We're all called. We all have epic, whatever. And so he doesn't know our exact future,
Okay. So the claim is when she says he doesn't know our exact future, that she's not referring to God. She's referring to the enemy, which would be Satan. But why? Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Now, the person is saying that Jenna Winston has a podcast called Through the Eyes of a Seer Prophet. That's where this is from. So it may appear in a number of places. This may be on her podcast, but it's also a part of Bowles Ministries on YouTube. If you look up Bowles Ministries, that's BOLZ. And again, the name of the video is Foundations of Deliverance with Sean Bowles and Jenna Winston. So we're uncovering a lot here. This is why we do this. So here's what we're going to do. We're at 42 minutes. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to find this video that I have on my iPad. I'm going to find it on my laptop. I'm going to take the video, run it through a converter to convert it to an MP3 file. Then I'm going to upload it to my software, and then we'll come back live on the air and we'll review this. This is not what the plan was today, but that's what I love about doing a podcast. So I'm gonna get that all converted and uploaded, and we'll start working our way through the video. This video is 22 minutes and 41 seconds. So we'll just review the whole thing. And if we review the whole thing, then we'll know for sure. I still need some kind of proof that she's connected to Bethel. That's the only thing that's lacking, that's missing here. Now, when we watch the video, maybe when they introduce her, they will say the Bethel website does not have her listed. So if she's an ordained, are they saying that she was ordained by Bethel? Well, a lot of people are ordained by a church, and then when they go out, maybe they change their theology. So it'd be unfair to bring that back to Bethel. Now, if she's still connected to Bethel, attends Bethel, a member of Bethel, then that's an issue. Now, Bethel could obviously revoke her ordination. If they're like, hey, we ordained you and you're out there teaching open theism, they could revoke her ordination. That's a possible step they could take. So there's still things Bethel-church could do. But again, some people are hearing that and they don't believe that she is saying God doesn't know, that the enemy doesn't know. So that's an interesting twist on this. So we're gonna take this. Thank you so much for the person listening. So many times people are listening and they don't participate in the chat. And then when I get home, I'm like, man, nobody was listening today. And I look at the numbers. I'm like, man, I got to remember people are actually listening. Sometimes I forget that people are actually listening. So thank you so very much. This was very helpful. We've gotten a couple of steps. We've got a couple of things confirmed here. We don't have everything. So I'm not yet ready to say that Bethel Church embraces or teaches or supports open theism. I'm not ready to say that, but I think we can say that Jenna Winston appears to be giving, whoever Jenna Winston is, the seer prophet. I mean, there's already a million problems. Seer prophet, it's just the world of the charismatic. This is the charismatic world where God is talking to them and they're getting new revelation, and just the never-ending train wreck that, if we, I don't know if I can, maybe I could prove this historically. If I state it this way, I think I can be proven to be 100% accurate. I think the absolute greatest problem that entered into the modern church is charismatic theology. I think it's the greatest cancer, the greatest disease, the greatest issue that when we write history books looking back at the modern church, it's charismatic theology. It's literally a cancer that has caused so many problems. Someone said this, to clarify, the seer prophet idea was from her podcast's name, not the open theism. I don't listen to her podcast. Okay. Well, congratulations. You're probably the reason you may still be sane. If I was to listen to her podcast, I have a feeling that I would have a seizure and that would be the end of everything. Okay. So, but we're getting ready to listen to this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop. I'm going to get everything ready, and then we will, I'll be back live on the air. Give me about 10 minutes to get everything set up, and then we'll be right back. And this should be an interesting discussion. If you have any more information, anything, please email me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. Thank you so much to the person who's been offering all of the insight. Very helpful to everyone who's listening. I know I'm not going to give her name, but just say thank you to her. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I hear everyone saying thank you. So thank you. Now we're one step closer, and we're going to be able to take this whole video apart. And then when we get to a conclusion, then our conclusion won't be based on something taken out of context. It'll be fair. Hopefully it'll be biblical. And hopefully what we'll try to do is clear. We're going to try to clear anything up if there's been any misinformation. And, Reformation Charlotte, hey, come on, guys, do a better job. Okay. Yeah. You can't just throw out a headline and not offer. You're making all kinds of accusations there, and you definitely are attaching it to Bethel. There's a lot here we have to prove. So for anyone who has any kind of a podcast or YouTube page, it's easy to make accusations. We gotta prove this. Now, if Bethel Church is associated with this and we can discover that, then by all means, we will make that very clear. But I'll be back here shortly. Again, you can email me, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. And I'm going to start getting everything ready. So just be refreshing your app. If you're listening to us on the Spreaker app, just be refreshing it, and we'll be back on the air here shortly. Thanks. God bless.